What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the poker vlog. This is poker session number 21, back at the Aria for some 2-5. We know it's going to be a good session when this guy is in the building. Ron came out to play. Let's have a drink before we get started. We got a ton of hands to go over. Let's have some fun.
Cheers!
We're playing 2-5 today. We get the max 1,000. First, we pick up ace 10 from under the gun. It's either a fold or a raise. I open for 15. Next player calls, and the button calls. We had 3 ways to a flop of 8 deuce deuce with 2 hearts. I lead with a bet of 25, hoping this flop didn't connect well with anyone for a pre-flop raise. Next player calls, button folds. Heads up to a 10 of spades on the turn. We improve to top pair now with ace kicker. My opponent may have an 8 or a small pocket pair, possibly a flush draw. I think I can check and let him bluff at it, or bet. I decide to bet for value against the smaller pairs and deny equity against overs and flush draws. I make it 50. He tanks for a bit and lays it down. Next we have king 9 of spades from the hijack. It's folded to me and I raise to 15. The button and big blind make the call. We had 3 ways to a flop of 7-7-5 with 2 spades. Big blind checks. I bet 20 with some overs and a king high flush draw. Button folds and the big blind makes the call. He has about 1,200. Heads up to a 9 of hearts on the turn, improving us to top pair to go along with our flush draw. However, it does complete the open-ended straight with a 6-8, and the big blind could be holding trip 7s. He checks it to me. I think about betting, but would be annoyed to get check raised here, so I check back for pot control, planning to call river bets. We get an 8 of clubs on the river, which isn't great. Now a single 6 makes a straight, so when he bets 35 on the river, I just call, expecting to lose, but we don't. He shows 4-5 for a pair of 5s, and we take it down.
Take it.
30 minutes later, we have ace queen in middle position. I raise it to 15. It's folded to the small blind, who 3-bets to 45. He has 1,000 behind. I decide to flat here, as a 3-bet from a player out of position tends to be stronger. We go heads up to a queen high flop, queen 3-6 with 2 clubs. We have top pair, top kicker, but no clubs. As expected, he continues with a bet of 60. We're not going anywhere with top pair, top kicker. I call, and we see a 10 of clubs on the turn, completing a flush. He continues firing and sizes up with a bet of 155. I'm still not convinced with that size bet. He may just have ace jack or ace king with 1 club. Pocket kings is also reasonable. He may even have the same hand as us, so I just call, looking for a blank on the river. We don't get it though. It's a king of spades, card we didn't want to see. The only plausible hand we really beat now is pocket jacks, which we won't get any value from. He slows down and checks. I check back, and he shows ace king for the winner. I believe one of them was a club though, so nice hand, sir. Next we have ace queen of diamonds from under the gun. I open for 15. Next player calls. The big blind calls. We had 3 ways to a flop of jack 6-4 with 1 diamond. First player checks to me. There are a ton of cards that can improve our hand on the turn, so I continue with a bet of 25. Next player folds, and it's back to the big blind, who makes the call. He has about 600 remaining. We get a 9 of diamonds on the turn, picking up some equity in the hand with nut flush draw and 2 overcards. He checks it to me. I think a bet will fold out his smaller pairs and straight draws, so I continue firing and make it 65. After some thought, he puts in the call, so we're pretty sure he has a hand like king jack or 10 jack. We get some help on the river with the queen of clubs, improving to top pair, top kicker. He checks it for the 3rd time, and I think we should go for some value here against a pair of jacks. If he had queen jack, he'd probably lead out the river, so I make a bet of 75. He ends up calling. We show the ace queen, and it's good. Next we have ace jack suited in the big blind. Button raises to 15. He has 2,000 in a stack. It's folded to me. With ace jack, I probably have the best hand against the buttons range, so I 3-bet to 60. He makes the call, and we go heads up to a flop of queen 8-6 with 1 spade. We miss again, but have an over and backdoor straight and flush draw. I bet 70 just as I would with my strong hands, and he makes the call. We go to a turn card of a king of clubs. Great card for our 3-bet range, so I'm going to continue with the pressure. I size up and bet 180. He folds and reaches for the unwanted king on the turn and flips it over, basically saying he was good until that king hit.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we have the most premium hand of all, pocket aces in the big blind. We're 6-handed at the moment. Cutoff raises to 15. Button calls and action's back on us. I make it 75 to play, hoping to get it heads up. The original raiser calls, and that brings in the button to close the action, so we're going 3 ways to a flop of 8-5 deuce with 2 spades. So we get a nice flop and have the ace of spades as well. I could check or make a bet here. I elect to bet 3 ways and make it 125 to go. Next player gets out of the way and the button calls. I'm already a little concerned of small sets of 5s or deuces, being that he was on the button, but he could have a flush draw as well. The button's range will be more wide open since he closed the action pre-flop, so we go heads up to a king of clubs on the turn. I check like I'm worried about the king, not sure if I'm trapping or behind. He throws out a bet of 300. I check his stack and looks like he has about 450 remaining. It's kind of a tough spot here. I'm not sure if he has it yet or not. If I call this bet, I'll have to call the all-in on the river, so I go ahead and put it all in now. If he's got it, he's got it. He snap calls, which is usually bad news, and it is this time. He has pocket 8s for a set, so we're dead to 2 outs. River is a blank, 3 of hearts, so we pay off $773, so now we're stuck 800 and ready to battle back as usual. Just 5 minutes later, we pick up pocket kings and the hijack. Under the gun opens for 20. It's the same player that just cracked my aces. Maybe we can get some chips back. I make the same 3 bet to 75, folds to him, and he makes the call. We go heads up to a flop of ace jack 3 rainbow. Maybe not. Not a great flop, but when he checks it to me, we need to find out where we're at. I make a bet of 105, and he only takes a few seconds before tossing out a check raise, making it 300 again. I lay it down right away, and he shows us ace jack for top 2 pair, just owning me. The session has taken a turn for the worse, but my attitude is positive and frustration level is low. I'm feeling like things are going to change. Just another 5 minutes later, back in the big blind with ace queen. Under the gun player limps. The cutoff, the player who is crushing me, raises to 20. Button calls and action's on me. I'm ready for round 3. I put in the 3 bet to 100. Only the cutoff calls, and we go heads up to a flop of 4-4-9 with 2 hearts. We brick the flop, but must continue with the story of another overpair. I lead for 105. He tosses in a call. Not sure if we're getting trapped, but I'm definitely barreling the turn. We get a 5 of diamonds on the turn. Doesn't change much. I can't check and let him take it from me. I keep the pressure on with a bet of 215. He goes into the tank for a full minute. He saw that I had aces and kings, so he ends up laying down pocket 8s this time, giving me credit for another big pocket pair. Says he's got respect and folds the 8s. Feels nice to drag a few hundred back our way. About an hour goes by, we pick up a few small pots before we see pocket 7s from +1. I raise to 15 and get a call from the big blind, who is a new player that bought in for 300. We go heads up to a flop of 10-8-7. We flop bottom set on a wet board, has a few hearts on there. He leads for 10. With tons of draws out there, we're going to try and build a pot. I raise it to 35. He makes the call, and we fill up right on the turn with an 8 of diamonds. He checks it to me. I make the same bet of 35 to keep his range in. He starts reaching for chips and puts out 35, then tries to go back for raising chips, making it 100 and more. Unfortunately, it's a string bet, and he can only call the 35, so it looks like he hit an 8 for trips, and hopefully we can dodge a 10 on the river or his kicker to get the rest of it. We get the best river card possible, 7 of clubs, giving us quads. Now he leads out for 100 with 100 behind, and pretty obvious how this plays out. I'm all in, and he calls. He had jack 8 for a full house, so we scoop up 300 more, and our stack is back to 1,700. We're in for 2,000.
Nice hand. What's your handle?
Watching Rob Poker.
Watching Rob Poker?
Yeah.
You on TikTok?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I see you.
Trick shots.
Yeah.
Always fun doing a little networking at the table. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. The other player knew me from my TikTok trick shots. That's pretty fun. Next, we pick up ace 4 suited in the big blind, +1 limps. Button raises to 20. I defend, and the limper calls. We go 3 ways to a flop of 3-3-4 with 2 clubs. I check. Next player checks. Button's not interested. He checks as well. We get a deuce of hearts on the turn, so we have top pair and a gut shot straight draw. Nobody seemed interested on the flop. I feel I have the best hand, so I lead for 20. The early limper thinks I'm weak, puts in a raise to 60. I don't put him on a 3 to be limp calling a raise from early position, but I could be wrong. I make the call though, and we see a 10 of hearts on the river. I check, he says check is good, and shows queen 4 for a pair of 4s as well, but we've got the kicker to take it down. Next, about 20 minutes later, we have ace 8 of diamonds in the hijack. It's folded to me, and I raise to 15. We're 6-handed at the moment, and the cutoff 3 bets to 55. It folds back to me, and I make a call shorthanded, kind of a loose call, but I feel like I kind of know where I'm at. We go heads up to a flop of 9-5-3 with 2 diamonds. We have nut flush draw and backdoor straight draw as well as an over. I check it to him, and he bets 70. It's likely we're up against an overpair or ace high, so I'm happy to get the money in now. If our ace is live, we have nearly 50% equity in the hand, so I put in the check raise to 230. Fine if he folds, fine if he calls, honestly. He thinks he has the best hand at the moment, decides to ship the rest in. I call, and he shows 2 kings. Let's run it. Well, bricks out. We get a 3 of spades on the turn, queen of clubs on the river. We're back down to 1100 again, stuck 900, but in a pretty good game, so we're not going anywhere. Next, we look down at 2 jacks from the big blind, still 6-handed, plus 1 player limps, small blind calls, and I make it 25 to play. Only the early limper calls, and we go heads up to a flop of 8-9 deuce with 2 diamonds. About the best flop we can hope for with pocket jacks. I lead out for 30, and he makes the call. This is the same opponent who had the queen 4. He likes to limp call raises with a wide range, so we get a deuce of clubs on the turn, which is a great card. I check to him this time to induce a bet, and he obliges, making it 75 to see a river. I make the call. River brings an 8 of spades, which isn't the greatest. He may have an 8 or a 9. I check, planning to call. He says check is good again, so we know we got the winner. Show the jacks, and he mucks it. Next, we have ace 9 offsuit on the button, 1 middle position player limps, and we raise it to 20. The big blind defends, same player from last hand, and the limper calls. We go 3 ways to a flop of ace 8 7 with 2 clubs. We hit the ace with some backdoor draws. It's check to me, and I bet 25. The big blind puts in the check raise to 80. Next player folds, and it's back on us. He has about 600 remaining. He could be raising with a wide range of hands here, bottom 2 pair, combo draws. I picked up on some bet sizing info from him throughout the session, so I make the call to see what develops on the turn. We get a 10 of hearts on the turn. We pick up an open-ended straight draw now. Opponent makes another bet of 150. Earlier he made a few big hands and overbet the pot when he had it, so I'm a little suspicious now that he's on a flush draw. I also don't think this opponent will triple barrel bluff if he misses the river, so I won't be put to a tough decision. I make the call, and the river brings a queen of hearts, which is a blank on this board. The flush doesn't get there. It's on him. Looks like he's thinking of jamming in the rest, which is about 400, but he decides to check. I'm happy to check back, and we see the good news. He had ace 6 of clubs, so top pair and a nut flush draw, but the 9 kicker plays, and we win a good sized pot.
I want to go all in on the turn.
I didn't know what I was going to do if he did that.
You heard him say he wanted to go all in on the turn. That would have worked for sure. Would have been a big overshove, and I would have had to give him credit for a 2 pair or small set, but it worked out. Next, it's 3 a.m. We're back to a full game with some new blood. I'm in the cutoff with 5-7 suited. Middle position opponent raises to 15. I call, button calls, and new player in the small blind 3 bets to 85. Original raiser calls, and it's back on us. The new player has 1500, and the player I want to be involved with as much as I can has 2700. I make the call, and we are in position. We go 3 ways to a juicy flop, king 4-6 with the 4-6 of hearts. We flop an open-ended straight flush draw. The small blind announces that he likes that flop and leads for 125. I'm expecting it to fold to me, but the player in the middle says, make it 400. He's the same opponent I got earlier with the quads. Now, against some stronger players, I'd be concerned with bigger flush draws or sets, but I've seen how this opponent has played top pair. Regardless, you don't play 5-7 suited to fold when you flop the draw to the absolute nuts. I'm excited because I feel like this one's coming in no matter what, and if they somehow fold, I'm okay with taking down a massive pot with what is currently 7 high. I rip it all in for 1100 total. Small blind folds right away, and it's back to the raiser. He looks uncomfortable right away, picking up his cards, It's one of those situations where most of the time I'm going to have a set here, and a very small percent of the time have a hand like I currently have. After he put that much in, I'm expecting a call, but he goes into the tank for a full minute and eventually lays down a king. The small blind said he had queens, and he puts me on a set. This pot puts us almost even, but we didn't leave the house tonight to break even.
You had a king?
Yeah, he had a set.
He was certain I had a set there, which was the plan. That's what I was hoping to represent. Just 20 minutes later, I pick up pocket jacks in the cutoff. $10 under the gun straddle is on. The same player I want to be involved with opens to 40 from middle position. Sometimes I'd flat here with certain opponents, but with this particular one, I want to get more money in the middle. I put in the 3-bet to 120. He makes the call, and we go heads up to a flop of 9-4 deuce with 2 diamonds. Great flop. He checks to me. I bet 120 thinking we'll likely take it down here. However, he makes the call, so I immediately think he could be on an ace-high flush draw. After all, he did open for 40 from middle position. He may also have pocket 9s, 10s, queens, kings, so not really sure where we're at yet. Turn is a blank, 4 of spades. He checks again. I feel like I need to make one more bet to deny equity against flush draws and possibly get value from pocket 10s. I bet 240. And when he quickly makes the call, I tell myself I'm checking back any river that isn't a jack, as now I'm a little concerned he has queens or kings, playing it slow. River is the worst, queen of diamonds, so I'm really only beating pocket 10s now in my mind. He checks again. I quickly check, and he says, "Oh, you got lucky." Rolls over pocket queens for the nut full house, so had a monster, slow played it, and got me for a good amount there. To the last hand of the night, pocket 5s from under the gun. I make the raise to 15. I think we're 6-handed here at the moment. Get a call from the small blind and big blind. The small blind is the player who I've kind of been waiting for all night. Same player from last hand that just got me with the queens. So we go 3 ways to a flop. Jack, 9, 5 with 2 hearts. We flop bottom set. Small blind checks. Big blind bets 25, which if you've seen some previous vlogs, normally when these players are leading out into the original raiser, it tends to be, you know, top pair, marginal kicker, or middle pair. So when he bets 25, I just flat here. Going to get him on the turn if we get a blank. That brings in the small blind though. He calls 25. So we go 3 ways to a 10 on the turn, which completes a few straights, but both players check to me. So I can't check back here with straight and flush draws on the board. I bet 65. It's back to the small blind who sticks in a check raise to 275. This is the spot we were waiting for. I feel like he has a straight. I don't think he's doing this with 2 pair. He's made some big hands throughout the night, and when he check raised big, he usually had it. So I have to call though, hoping to pair the board because I know if he has a straight, we're going to get all of it. I make the call for 210 more. I have 1150 behind. The river is a 9. We pair the board. It's bottom full house though, but like I said, I'm pretty sure he has a straight, so he leads out for a stack of green. $500 bet on the river, and it's back on us. It's bottom full house here, but like I said, got to go with my read that he had a straight on the turn. Don't think he's check raising with 2 pair there. We want to get max value here, so let's put it all in and hope.
All in.
Please don't move. Go. 5 full of 9s. Yeah, full house. It's a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1,000. 1,048.
So we get a lucky run out there, giving him the straight on the turn. We fill up on the river. With that pot, I play another orbit, win another small pot. We're in for 2,000, out for 29.77. Calling it a night. It's about 4:30 in the morning. Go grab some food with Ron, and we'll see you at the end of the video. Alright guys, that's it. Hope you enjoyed that roller coaster of a session for episode number 21 at the Aria. Glad we stuck it out and kept our composure. You know, down 1,000, back even, down 1,000, back 100 loser. Finally winning that big pot to get us almost 1,000 winner. So feels good. As always, here are the stats after every session. Put those up there to keep track as we go along here. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like and subscribe. Drop some comments down below. And stay to the end for a cool trick shot. And we'll see you next Sunday. Have a great one. Good luck at the tables, everybody.